Today we will be building Mr. Circuit Lab number 7. So first, you're going to make sure you have your Mr. Circuit Lab manual open to page 21. That's where we're going to see our parts list and the diagram to help us set it up on our breadboard. First, we'll make sure we have all of our parts. We have our red LED. We have our new component, the 1000 UF capacitor. We have our 100 ohm resistor, which is brown, black, brown, gold. And we have our 1000 ohm resistor, which is brown, black, red, gold. We have our other new component, the push button. And we also have our battery snap. For this lab, we're also going to need one extra wire to make a connection between the two sides of the breadboard. So first, I'm going to start off by putting in our red lead for our battery snap. That's going to go in this top section. And put it in row B here in the first square. And we'll connect our black lead in just a little bit. Next, we can take our 100 ohm resistor, and one side of that will be going in line with the red lead in row A, and then the other side will still be in row A, but it'll be 5 squares down. Next, we can put in our push button. The first side of the push button will go in row B in line with our resistor, and the other side of our push button will go on the other side of the breadboard, so all the way down in row J, and that can go about halfway across the breadboard. Next, we'll put in our LED. Remember, when you're putting in your LED, to look for the two different ways you can find the cathode, or the negative side. We have our flat edge here, and we also have the shorter wire. So make sure you're lining that up with what is put in the diagram here. And that is going to go, the longer wire will be in line with our push button switch here on the other side of the breadboard. So make sure you're lining that up. Next, we can put in our other new component, the capacitor. When you're lining up the capacitor, it's just like an LED. Make sure you have the shorter wire, and also these black arrows with the minus signs in them. Helps you find the negative side of that. So the first part of that will go in row H, all the way at the end. And then the other part of that will go in row G, about 4 or 5 squares down. Now we can put in our 1000 ohm resistor to connect the two. We'll have the first end of the resistor going in line with the positive side of our LED in row J. And the other side will go also in row J, but in line with our capacitor. Now we connect our black lead for the battery snap, and that's also going to go in row I in line with the resistor and the capacitor. Lastly, to make the connection between the two sides of our breadboard, we need to put in this extra wire. That is going to go in row F in line with our capacitor on the positive side, and then up in row C in line with our push button switch and our 100 ohm resistor. So now everything should be plugged in. Let's test it with our 9-volt battery. I'm going to plug it in. The LED shouldn't turn on right away. Now we're going to push button switch. See, the LED turns on. Now also what's happening when this LED is on is this capacitor is filling up with extra charge. So I'm going to unplug the battery. Now still watch the LED. I'll press the button You can see it has some light going and it slowly fades out. That's because the capacitor is slowly draining out of the charge that it was full of. And if we plugged our 9-volt battery back in, charged it up, LED's going, it'll do the same thing all over again when we unplug it. So if this is how your circuit is working, it means you've built it correctly, and make sure you're doing the activity questions that follow. And thanks for watching.